Davis steps under center. Gibson and McClendon behind him. Davis with motion by Richard. Will give the ball to McClendon. He leaps. Oh, he doesn't get in. He fumbled the football. Carolina holds. The game is over. And Carolina has won the game.
Finley to throw. Over the middle, intercepted. Wolford again. Wolford the other way at the 30, the 40. Wolford to midfield. Miles Wolford with the pick. The Heels on the doorstep of an enormous victory.
Left side of the line. Hood standing to Williams' right. Williams gonna throw. One-on-one. Davis has it. Touchdown. Carolina wins. Carolina is the Coastal Division champion. Bernard fields it at the 26. Heading to the far side. Gio at the 35. Gio is at the 50. No, he's not. Yes, he is. Gio is going to take it for a touchdown. Are you kidding me? Connor Barth for the possible win. Snap, spot, kick away, high enough, long enough. It's good! It's good! Carolina has won the game on a 42-yard field goal by freshman Connor Barth. Good gosh, dirty!
This is the Heel Tough Blog Podcast. Hey guys, and welcome in to another edition of the Heel Tough Blog Podcast. It's Anthony Pagnotta back with you guys as always, and today we are joined by GoHeels' Pat James, who is with us to help us walk through Mack Brown's press conference and what he said in what is just a very strange time that we're living here in 2020. And first of all, Pat, are you staying safe, man? I know this is just one of the most unprecedented things that we've seen in this country in a long time, so hoping you're taking care of yourself as well as your family as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, just trying to pretty much staying at home. Besides taking the dog on a few walks here and there, it's pretty much just been staying at the house, working remotely for the last 2 weeks, and hope everyone else out there is staying safe, including yourself.
Yeah, no, we're doing our best here too as well. Just been hanging out with the family a lot, trying to get a little bit closer during this tough time. But I think that's one of the things that we are realizing for ourselves. Not only are we sitting around here struggling to find things to do, but a lot of the players that are on this Tar Heel football team are doing the same. It was supposed to be spring practice time for a lot of these guys right now, but unfortunately, with everything that's been going on, spring practice has been shut down. So a lot of guys have had to go back home. Some guys in some different situations than normal. Guys like Jacoby Criswell staying with John Copenhaver during this time. So a lot of different scenarios going on. Mack Brown sort of dived into a couple of those scenarios, but there were a lot of different things that he talked about in the press conference. What was the biggest concern that was expressed by Mack Brown on Monday when he was on with you guys?
I think, obviously, everybody knows Mack. I'm sure every coach in the country is like this. But just, the well-being and health of, his student athletes and their families right now. He was very candid and said, a few of these players, their parents have already lost their jobs due to the way the economy's going. And, that's just tough to grapple with. And so, with such hard times going on, everybody constantly, watching the news and just kind of all the kind of bad things that are happening, you're worried, and he's worried, obviously, just about, the mental health of some of these guys, guys developing, increased depression and anxiety during these times. So, he's made it clear to them that, counselors are available still to them, that, they can reach out to them if they have any problems with that. And he's trying to stay in touch with these guys, and he's encouraged his assistant coaches to over-communicate, were his words, just to make sure that, they're constantly staying in touch with these guys. As you said, Jacoby Criswell, he's one guy who's kind of been displaced by this, Another guy was Don Chapman, who thought about going to San Diego, but Coach Brown said, just the idea of, a cross-country plane ticket would be too expensive, and, he just decided kind of to stay in Chapel Hill because he thought that'd be safer. You have another guy like, Patrice Renee, who's, working his way back from tearing his ACL, and Coach Brown said that Patrice went back to Canada and was planning on rehabbing in a certain facility, but he got up there and turns out that facility's closed. So, just so many unknowns at this point, and so Coach Brown, he just said, he's really just trying to make sure that the guys are, being healthy and, them and their families are okay.
Right. Now, did he expand on the guys that are trying to rehab with injuries? Because I think that's one of the big concerns right now. All the guys that put on weight in before the spring in the workouts, I think definitely is a big concern as well. But really those guys, especially like Patrice Renee coming back from the ACL, Cameron Kelly coming back from an ACL, and even guys like Matthew Flynn, who's coming back from a leg fracture. Did he say anything about how some of those guys are going to work through this if they don't necessarily have access to the things that they need?
In terms of rehab, he didn't really go into details about anyone else. And I'm sure you'll follow up just on terms of how the team is working out and stuff right now. But, with Patrice, he's one guy. The only other name who he mentioned, who had been previously mentioned among the guys who would be sitting out this spring, as of 3-4 weeks ago when he had his pre-spring press conference, was Wisdom Asabura, who he said is kind of living with a host family in Asheville right now, since it really didn't make much sense for him to travel all the way back to Nigeria. But he didn't really expand in any further details in terms of kind of how these guys are rehabbing. I think it's just mostly kind of working with the athletic training staff to try to develop specific plans that can work for them, that they can use to kind of do simple activities while at home.
Yeah, now in terms of nutrition, I think that's another really big thing because, as you mentioned, there are some guys whose parents have already lost their jobs. How is Coach Brown navigating that, and is the NCAA helping in any way to try to keep these guys on track to play next season? And really, actually, the biggest concern is really just have enough food to be able to eat and stay healthy.
In terms of the NCAA, I really don't know how much advice or sort of comments they've received just in terms of kind of how to approach this, or if any resources will be made available. I know there was an announcement today about how the NCAA is going to be splitting up, I can't remember the exact amount of money, among all the different Division I schools to kind of help with kind of overcoming just the lost spring revenue and all that. I don't know how that's going to affect, just kind of, what UNC will be able to help out with in terms of that. Right. But he did mention that, Kelsey Gomes, who's the director of nutrition for the team, and helps out with a lot of the teams here at UNC, that she's been in touch with them just about in terms of, what they can do with their nutrition kind of during this time. And strength and conditioning coach Brian Hess has also been, really hands-on with trying to kind of help these guys kind of navigate this entire situation.
Yeah, no, I think we've seen a lot of guys praising Coach Hess during this time. Just from your perspective, what do you think is the biggest concern out of all of these in your mind when this team comes back to the field, being that this is a team that most people look at and say this 2020 season is a big year for them, considering that they've got the pieces to make something happen in the ACC Coastal?
I think one of the bigger concerns, just in terms of that kind of strength and conditioning aspect that Coach Brown kind of harped on a lot, is that, your guys who, when they're even here, who might kind of maybe slack off a little bit here and there, like you have concerns about, are they going to be disciplined enough to kind of get through this, to keep doing their workouts. He mentioned several times and made very clearly, these workouts are voluntary right now, just with the way that the NCAA is kind of ruled just in terms of how coaches can be involved in stuff. So, the coaches, they're not watching them, but Brian Hess can. But how active, how involved are they going to be with this? Are they going to take this seriously and take this as a time where they have to continue, working on their bodies, trying to work on their skills when and where they can. Coach Brown mentioned that, some guys, like in Charlotte where Sam Howell and a few guys are, and, in Atlanta as well, guys in those areas are trying to get together and kind of do workouts and stuff together while continuing to social distance as much as they can. Just kind of trying to figure that out because, and you do have those concerns about, a guy, who doesn't take his conditioning and stuff seriously during this time, coming back. He doesn't eat well, he comes back overweight, isn't in shape, and just kind of, you can't put a guy on the field at that point. And so I think that definitely is a concern just in terms of how guys are going to approach this. I would say that, one thing that I saw today on Twitter that I thought was pretty encouraging and pretty cool was that Patrice Renee tweeted out that short video of, during workouts today where they were all on Zoom, the video conference app that, everybody's using now. And there were like, 20 plus guys all in there at the same time working out. And so I think that was pretty cool and pretty encouraging, at least for fans, to see that, they as a group are kind of, taking it seriously.
In terms of academics, I think that's another area that some people are concerned. My sister's currently a student at Carolina, and she's taking some time adjusting to the online classes. Should it be really a big concern for Tar Heel fans about some of these guys being able to have that self-discipline, or is this something where it feels like everybody is going to be cut just a little bit of slack because it is such a new way of having to go about learning, not only just any level of school, but to have to do this at the college level, which is the most difficult?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another concern that Coach Brown raised, that same sort of deal that, guys are going to have to be disciplined when it comes to academics as well in terms of trying to figure this out. I mean, yeah, it's different, but, you got to find a way through it. Coach Brown said that, he and his staff have been holding Zoom meetings with the team's academic counselors, trying to figure everything out. But, you'd figure that, at this point, tutoring is one thing, that's going to be kind of harder to come by right now. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a little bit harder for some of these guys to figure out, just what are the requirements, with having these online classes. I was talking to a wrestler yesterday who was saying, some classes, it's a lot of forum discussions and things like that, and other ones it is a little bit more hands-on. So just kind of getting accustomed to kind of what's going on with that. I mean, I'm sure, like it is for any regular student at UNC and, really across the country, it's going to take some time to adjust to that. One thing the university has done is, they announced this past Friday that, students can declare, spring courses as pass-fail all the way until August 7th. Mm-hmm. That's something that a lot of guys are going to have to take their time and kind of weigh their decisions on that, with some input from the academic counselors. So a lot of decisions there, and those sorts of decisions also affect, eligibility, going forward and everything. So, yeah, it's going to be a very interesting situation. One thing that might not even come to some people's mind is, that wrestler who I mentioned, he's from LA and he went back to LA. Mm-hmm. So now he's taking his classes, his regular class schedule is now 3 hours different. So he has a 9 a.m. 3 times a week that's now at 6 a.m. 3 times a week. Ooh. And he was very, open to this, like it's really hard. Like, it's tough, even though, he's waking up early anyway while he's here in Chapel Hill for workouts and stuff like that. It's such a change of pace from what he's used to. It is a major adjustment.
Yeah, and I think, during this time, it's definitely been a difficult time. But one of the things that's kind of been helping us through this in terms of sports fans has been NFL free agency. And you actually wrote a really great piece just yesterday on Trey Boston, who ended up signing a new deal with the Carolina Panthers. Great to see, considering that, Trey had kind of been bouncing around. He was one of those guys that just you could never really figure out why he wasn't able to stick with a team because he was producing so much on the field. But now he's going to stick here with the Carolina Panthers. So what were some of the things that you were talking to Trey in that piece about, in case some of the people that are listening to this podcast maybe haven't read the piece just yet?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the past 2-3 years, he's been very open about how, he was looking to get a multi-year deal somewhere. 3 straight off seasons he signed 1-year deals, first with the Chargers, then with the Arizona Cardinals, and then with the Panthers again, right as training camp was kind of going on last year. So he'd really been kind of looking for a multi-year deal where he was, financially secure, where also, he felt like he was getting the sort of commitment that he felt like he should be getting from a team, because, he is a guy who's kind of bounced around a little bit, but even then, 3 straight years being with different teams, but he managed to post the highest coverage grade of any free safety in the NFL over the last 3 years, according to Pro Football Focus. And here's also a guy who, he has 11 interceptions over that same time period, and that's tied for the second most among NFL safeties. So the guy's done enough to kind of back up, what he's looking for and everything. And so I think, he was just very thankful to finally get rewarded for that, and he was especially happy that he was rewarded for that by the Panthers, as you said, the team that drafted him, and he gets to stay in the state of North Carolina, where, it's kind of crazy to think about, but like he pointed out himself, he's been in the state of North Carolina for about 10 years of his life now at this point, between being at UNC and being in Charlotte. It's almost easy to forget that he's a Florida guy, actually, and not from the state of North Carolina. So he was pretty excited about just, being able to stay in the state of North Carolina. And he kind of joked about how, he's still able now, being on the East Coast, he's able to tune into all the UNC games, on the local channels, like he knows what they are. And, he's been keeping tabs on the program and just kind of the great direction it's going.
Yeah, Trey is a great guy. I met him last year out at one of the WFNZ events, the draft party that they had out at Topgolf. A great guy, a great golfer as well. So good for him. Really happy that he's going to be staying here in Carolina, as are many fans that are both Tar Heel and Panther fans. So good to see him staying around. Make sure you check that article out, GoHeels.com. Pat, you've done such a great job. Even during this downtime, man, you guys are grinding out over there. It's awesome to see. We're hoping to be doing the same over here at the Heel Tough blog, but it's definitely an unprecedented time, so just stay safe, and we'll talk to you down the line. Hopefully it won't be too long. I know they've said that there's a possibility that the NCAA could look into doing some sort of NFL-type OTAs during the summer, just to get some guys some reps in shorts. Mack Brown talked about that a little bit in his press conference as well, so hopefully that ends up actually happening, and maybe we can put this dark time behind us. But we'll definitely keep in touch and talk to you sometime down the line, whether we have a season or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me on. Stay safe, everybody.
All right, Pat. All right, that's Pat James of GoHeels.com. Another, of course, we've been having Pat on here for a while now. Fantastic stuff from him, as always. And yeah, make sure, go check that article out that he's got on GoHeels.com. He worked really hard on that to get that Q&A with Trey Boston. It's a fantastic read. Read it this morning myself, so a lot of great information in there for both Tar Heel and Panther fans. So go back, give that a read. And then, of course, head over to the Heel Tough blog website, because we got you covered. Just put out the weekly storylines for this week. We have a bunch of that stuff that we just talked about with Pat is up there. You guys can go back, read a little more in depth on what he said about the nutrition of players, rehab of players, as well as some of the other stuff that they were putting out there during that press conference, or that he was putting out there during that press conference the other day on Zoom. You guys can go check that out on the website, HeelToughBlog.com. Also got some really good updates in there in that same article about Peyton Page. There's one in there about Reneria Dilworth, as well as 3-star offensive guard Jared Wilson. So a lot of great stuff in there. Make sure you guys go check that out on the website. Of course, in terms of basketball and baseball, basketball in the offseason, we were going into the offseason regardless. We're going to have the awards for the season coming out. Both me and Josh are going to combine on that article, so that's going to be a really cool one. That's the first time we've really done that on this website, so that'll be up sometime, probably tomorrow. If not tomorrow, it will be up early Saturday, so make sure you guys check that out. Baseball season, we are done for now, but we will be back covering them next spring with a lot of the guys that'll have extra years of eligibility. Likely have seen the last of Aaron Zabato, but we will definitely be keeping you up to date on all that. Still looking for a full-time baseball writer, so if anybody is interested in writing baseball for us next year, make sure that you guys contact us. You can hit me up at HTB Anthony on Twitter, or Josh on Twitter at Joshua Marlowe 5. Also, you can email me at Anthony .pegnata@yahoo.com. That's the email address. So anybody that's interested, we'd love to hear from you. Still looking for that baseball writer to help us out, because covering football and covering basketball, as you've seen from both of our perspectives, is a full-time job year-round, as well as the fact that we hold full-time jobs on the side. So it is definitely difficult. We are definitely looking for people that can help us out and continue to grow the Heel Tough blog. Make sure that you subscribe, you rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. We got so many great additions to the podcast that are coming up. You guys heard the interview from Antonio James. That's the last episode. If you haven't heard that, make sure you go back and listen to it. We have the recruiting recap, the breakdown of Kobe Pace-Sauer, Eli Sutton, Tymier Brown, and DeAndre Boykin's commitments. Me and Zach Hubbard were on that one just a couple of days ago. That's episode 150. So make sure you go back and listen to the last two episodes, and then you can cycle back around and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the other episodes that are coming up. We've got some unbelievable player interviews that we've been doing. There's so many more that we're going to be doing along the way as well, but our next one it'll come out probably Sunday night. I think we're going to put that one out. It'll be CJ Kottman, the former Tar Heel cornerback, who will be with us. We've also talked to former Tar Heel safety Deontay Williams, and also we are sitting down tonight. We're actually recording the one with Johnny White, the former running back. We got Tyler Powell, the former defensive lineman, who is going to be with us, and there's so many other ones. Junior Nankande expected to come on at some point, so tons of great interviews that you guys will be able to hear. The only way you can make sure that you don't miss an episode of the podcast, that you don't miss any of those exciting interviews, is by subscribing wherever you listen to your podcast on. So, once again, want to thank Pat James for stopping by with us. Want to thank you guys for listening, and as always, go Tar Heels!